When we get back from where we are going back where we were. I know people there.
On January 4th, 1999, Ed, Edd n Eddy made its world premiere on Cartoon Network with the episode The Ed-Touchables / Nag to Ed, and I was right there the night it aired. In fact, a lot of these episodes I remember watching the night they premiered. The animation and art, particularly in this season, has that very ugly in a good way art style that only the crew at AKA Cartoon could pull off successfully. The studio has a lot of strong artists: Scott Underwood, Joel Dickey, Lee Waldron, Corey Toomey, Jim Miller, and even artists from the digital era like Sabrina Alberghetti and Raven Mosley. Also, this is the season where you notice many drawings that will end up being clip art and stock poses for merchandise. We can't forget the writing team led by Jono Howard. I got to talk to him over Facebook recently to ask what the writing process was like. He had this to say: "Well, for starters, there was no writer's room. I wish. The only writer in the studio was me, usually brainstorming story ideas consisted of me calling Mike Cubitt, who lived in LA, and talking on the phone with him. That's how most of the stories got figured out, just me and Mike talking it out. The first step in the writing process was a premise. A premise was a 2 or 3 sentence story idea. Those ideas came from me or Mike, or sometimes one of the storyboard artists would have an idea and come over to tell me. I would make a list of all the story premises and then give them to Danny for his approval. If I give 20 premises, Danny would usually choose 2 or 3. It was not a good rate of approval. He sometimes refused every single premise, and we would have to throw them out and start over again. Once a premise was approved by Danny, it was written up as a 3-page outline. There were no scripts for this show other than the half-hour specials and the movie. All of the regular episodes were 3-page outlines, because Danny wanted it to be a board-driven show, not a writer-driven show. A true cartoon. That makes a huge difference. Obviously, we would write and rewrite the outlines over and over and over again, sometimes 6 or 7 completely different versions, until Danny approved it. Then, 2 storyboard artists were assigned the outline. They would draw the whole thing out, panel by panel, then they would present the storyboard to the entire studio. Yes, the entire studio, including the receptionist, and take everyone's notes. Then they would redraw it again. This process would go on until Danny finally approved the board. When it was all done, the last thing he would do is write the dialogue himself. Danny pretty much wrote every line of the show himself. Sometimes we would get a line of dialogue though, but rarely. There were a lot of premises that Danny liked at first, but they'd hate it later. Some were even submitted to Cartoon Network and approved by them, but Danny disapproved them later. It's so long ago, I can't even remember what those stories were. It was hard work, but it was fun. Every show I worked on afterwards seemed shitty in comparison. Probably because they were shitty, which is a shame. The Ed-Touchables centers on the edge trying to find out who's taking everyone's stuff, as they advise a plan to catch the quote-unquote serial toucher, which the suspect is Johnny 2x4. This is one of the few episodes where the Eds win and get out of a situation they caused unscathed, albeit very briefly. I love the way everyone is introduced in this episode. We get a feel of their personalities from the jump. Double D is a neurotic neat freak who wants everything in order. Eddy is a mischievous prankster. Ed is an oaf who loves monster movies. Sarah is a brat who throws temper tantrums. And Johnny is the weird kid. There are some odd pilot/first episode isms here that won't be seen in the series again, like Ed speaking in coherent sentences, Double D has a crush on Sarah, and Eddy calling Double D Ed as opposed to his nickname. Nag to Ed features the first appearance of the Kanker sisters, who become the main antagonists of the series. A majority of the episodes end with them having their way with the Eds, even when they're introduced halfway into the episode. Personally, I much prefer them as bullies than creepy stalkers. It doesn't happen often, but it is satisfying when they get their comeuppance. We also get the first mention of Eddy's brother, who will become an ominous, mysterious figure that will be mentioned throughout the show, until finally appearing in a movie. The voice actors, as we all know, do an excellent job of bringing these characters to life. Much like other shows like The Simpsons or even Cat Dog, Ed, Edd n Eddy makes a great use of his limited voice cast. I already mentioned the Ed's voice actors, but also Kathleen Barr, Ern Fitzgerald, Janice Jod, Peter Kellemis, David Paul Grove, Gene Forgey, and Keenan Christensen deserve their flowers as well. Season 1 has some all-around bangers. You got Pop Goes the Ed, where the Eds crash Naz's sprinkler party and lose their swimsuits. Look Into My Eds, where Eddy hypnotizes the kids. It's Way Ed, where the Eds try to hop on the latest fads. A Glass of Warm Ed, where Eddy and Double D tries to stop Ed from sleepwalking and eating everyone's food, and Ed-Exaggerate, where Eddy lies to Kevin about breaking his window and blaming it on creatures called the Mucky Boys. Some of my favorite episodes are where the Eds just act like regular kids. Like in Dawn of the Eds, they're just hanging out in the junkyard imagining they're in a sci-fi movie, or goofing off at the beginning of Know-It-All Ed from Season 2. Even something as simple as trying to pop a balloon in the Season 3 episode Ed, Ed in a Way. The funniest episode in this season, in my opinion, is The Boy and His Ed, where the Eds try to suck up to Kevin so they can get jawbreakers from him, even going as far as to try to steal them by digging into his garage, but somehow ending up in his bathtub with him in it. I don't know, cartoon episodes with characters trying to sneak in somewhere or steal stuff and failing will never get old to me. The Season 1 finale, Button Your Ed / Avast Ye Eds, aired June 11, 1999, and it was the first new episode of a CN show to premiere on a then new block, Cartoon Fridays. New episodes were moved from Mondays to Fridays for the rest of the show's run. Ed, Edd n Eddy became a huge hit for the channel, especially with kids. It became one of the network's top-rated shows. Right away, the Eds became icons and a welcome addition to the Cartoon Network lineup. Ed, Edd n Eddy was never the merchandising juggernaut Dexter's Lab and especially the Powerpuff Girls were, but the show did have several t-shirts, video games, DVDs, comics, and a Cartoon Network line, and fast food tie-ins throughout its run. I remember music videos like My Best Friend Plank and my personal fave, The Incredible Shrinking Day, with more stylized animation, where the Eds are shrunken to doll size by a very creepy looking Sarah. There were several marathons. One of the earliest I remember was Boy Girl from 1999, an 8-hour marathon of Ed, Edd n Eddy and the Powerpuff Girls episodes. Another was The Ed's Day Off from 2004, which I recorded on a VHS back in 4th grade. I remember the bumpers were in the style of MTV's Jackass. Speaking of which, the Eds would get their own set of Cartoon Network bumpers, usually made by the AKA Cartoon team. Side tangent, it's always funny when outside studios handle the characters and promotional material because you can tell they aren't familiar with the show. Sometimes there will be out of character moments and more often than not, they will be hilariously off model. The Eds became part of CN events / blocks. Double D and later Ed and Eddy will become one of the many hosts of the Friday night block, Cartoon Fridays.
I'm Ed, that's with 2 Ds, and I'm hosting tonight.
Hey, how many times you gonna let that disc fall on you, Double D?
Oh yeah? Well, what kind of imbecile keeps throwing the thing when it keeps smacking you in the back of the head?
Permanent gold, little man.
Oh.
It's funny considering in Canada, where the show is made, the cast didn't even realize how popular it was in the States. According to Samuel Vincent, we weren't super aware of what a hit it was. It only aired in Canada for 13 episodes on Teletoon, and then no more. The internet wasn't crazy in the early 2000s like it is now, so we became more aware when we traveled abroad and talked to other people who had Cartoon Network or received fan mail. The CCF bumpers were fun. We recorded them up in Vancouver, where we live, so we didn't really interact with the CN show actors, but they were fun to do. Of course, not everyone was a fan of the Ed Boys. Terrence Biggs from Animation World magazine wrote an infamously scathing review when the show premiered, calling every episode filler and criticizing the art style, though fans of the show responded with their support. Season 2 premiered with a total of 13 episodes from November 1999 through December 2000. Season 1 is iconic, but Season 2 really was where the show found its footing. Everything is much more refined here, from the characters to the animation to even the humor. Unlike other cartoons from this era that relied on pop culture references, Ed, Edd n Eddy's humor mostly consisted of clever wordplay and classic Tex Avery style slapstick. Starting with this season, the show incorporated more fourth wall jokes, which became a hallmark to the series.
Does this guy sleep through the whole show?
I think I've lost about 10 pounds this season.
I'd swear, but standards won't let me.
There were many highlights in Season 2, like the surreal episode 1 + 1 = Ed, the episode where the Eds dare each other to act like one another, or where the Eds find a key, even episodes that could be found on holiday compilations, like the memorable Fa La 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 Ed. Season 3 would up the ante. It seems like they were always topping themselves with how far they can go. I love the more character-based stories this season, like Rolf getting homesick for the old country and Wish You Were Ed. We even see Jimmy's dark side in a controversial 2-parter, If It Smells Like an Ed. Of course, the bizarre episodes are a lot of fun too, like Once Upon an Ed, a Rashomon-style episode where the Eds explain how they got into Johnny's wall. Season 4 is weird, and I'm mostly referring to a sporadic airing order. See, it debuted in September 2002, with the first 3 episodes airing from September to November. Episode 4 aired in August 2003, 5 through 6 aired in November as part of the November premieres block, and 7 through 12 aired from January to February 2004, as part of the New Fridays, which I originally thought was a new season. The season finale didn't air until November 2004, which was the episode Take This Ed and Shove It, where the theme is growing up. While getting hit on the head while retrieving jawbreakers, Eddie wakes up in a distant future where everyone is old. It's hilarious seeing everyone as senior citizens. My favorite running gag has a cane that constantly appears, with Eddie throwing it away. This was the last episode to use cell animation, and originally the series finale, until popular demand led the Cartoon Network to renew the show for 2 more seasons. 3 holiday specials were produced before the new season: a Christmas special in 2004, a Valentine's special in 2005, and a Halloween special, also in 2005. Season 5 marked a significant change to the show. While Ed, Edd and Eddy was always known as a summer show, this season was set during the fall, and a majority of episodes took place at school, introducing the Valentine's special. I'm not sure how everyone else felt about this change, but I didn't mind. It was a good way to shake things up. I feel like there's a lot you can do here, especially with how these characters will react in a setting like this. Though I do think there were some limitations in some aspects, due to the series famously not having any adult characters. And it is kind of funny how there's only 12 kids in this whole school. Unlike other cartoons like Dexter, Powerpuff Girls, and Johnny Bravo, where the final seasons were universally regarded as the weakest, Ed and Eddy never really had that problem, at least for me. With that being said, there are some duds, like the episode Too Smart for Ed, where Ed wins the school spelling bee for spelling gravy, and for some reason he's now the school genius as Eddy scams the kids into having Ed do their homework for them, and yet they're surprised that Ed, someone who they've known for years, caused them to fail. One of the more controversial episodes this season was Smile for the Ed. This episode does something I really don't like in most later episodes, where it's a humiliation conga for Eddy, and at rare times he's completely innocent, and it gets a bit repetitive. He doesn't even scam anyone in this episode. All he wants to do is take a good picture so he can get his brother's room. This is the only episode not directed by series creator Danny Antonucci, instead directed by storyboard artist Scott Diggs Underwood. Honestly, there are more gems in this season than there were duds. My favorite episodes were the ones where the Eds and Johnny try to break out of school, the opener where summer ends and school starts, and the finale, A Fistful of Ed. Now this episode aired as part of the Best Day Edder Marathon in April 2007, which showed every episode in chronological order, hosted by Danny Antonucci. He would give facts and talk about some of his favorite episodes. Most of you remember this was heavily built up as the final episode of Ed and Eddy. It has Double D being mistaken as a tough guy after several misunderstandings, making the whole school fear him. Jimmy helps him restore his old image, while Eddy takes advantage of Double D's new status. And Ed is depressed he lost one of his closest friends. Final scene has the Eds reunite after Double D gets beaten up by Jimmy, and Eddy, who's been the biggest prick throughout the whole episode, defends Double D from the cankers. They all eat their hot dogs happily, with Eddy being slightly irritated. And that was it. A perfect ending to an iconic series. Just kidding, a month later a new episode aired.
So that was a fucking lie.
The Eds Are Coming aired as part of a special crossover event on Cartoon Network May of 2007. It was a night of alien-themed premiere episodes of Foster's, Camp Lazlo, My Gym Partner's a Monkey, and Billy and Mandy, with the Eds making small cameos in the other shows. I don't know if TV shows still do this, but there was a time where networks would take some of their most popular shows and do a night of premiere episodes all with the same theme and crossing over with each other. The most famous of these would have to be NBC's Hurricane Sunday, where the Golden Girls, Empty Nest, and Nurses all had hurricanes in their respective shows. Though if you're my age, you might remember That's So Sweet Life of Hannah Montana on Disney Channel. But back to the Eds Are Coming. It's winter in Peach Creek, and the kids think aliens have invaded the suburb and taken Rolf, so it's up to them to gear up and save him. The episode itself is just okay, but the main standout is the opening dream sequence, especially when Jimmy's nightmare begins. There's so much fun, dark imagery. The angles, the shots, the camera work, the visuals, the music. It feels so cinematic. Would you have ever think you would see this in an Ed, Edd and Eddy episode? I love these war-of-the-world type alien spaceships too. Of course we find out the aliens in question are Rolf's relatives from the old country. Even the ending is hilariously grim. In June of 2008, the short-lived 6th season aired with one episode, May I Have This Ed / Look Before You Ed, though on Max in a complete series set, it's usually lumped in with season 5. Given how the first 4 seasons took place in summer and 5 took place in the fall, I assume 6 would have been winter themed. It's a shame they didn't finish. I would have loved to see what they can do with a winter setting. It's a good episode, mostly May I Have This Ed, which has the school dance coming up, with apparently no chaperones, and Double D being shy to ask the girl to dance. There's good character moments here, like Eddy encouraging Double D the way he knows how, and Double D getting a chance to dance with Naz. Look Before You Ed is a bit of a meh entry in the series. I don't remember anything about this episode except how the Eds are punished.
Hey! I don't gotta go anymore!
So this is how our Ed story ends, on a 7:30 time slot on a channel going through its first dark age. The last time the world will ever get a chance to watch the antics of the Ed boys. Or would it?
In case of movie break glass.
Bingo! A peanut?
Cheap movie.
Thanks for watching. If you like this video, subscribe to the channel, click the bell icon for more updates, and like and comment on the video. It helps a great deal in the algorithm. Hope you all stay tuned because I got more stuff coming your way. If you want to support the channel, visit my new Patreon, or you can request a HANNA-BARBERA special for the FUNTASTIC legacy of HANNA-BARBERA and MINISODES series. Until next time, I'm 47 Cartoon Guy and I gotta fly. I'll catch you later.